Have you ever wondered why, despite all the self-love you've learned, reading self-help books, meditating, listening to healing podcasts, and telling yourself every day that you're worthy of love, there's still a void deep inside that can't be filled, a nagging unease, a feeling that you're still waiting for someone to make you whole? You're not alone. Many people are on a journey of self-development, but they're stuck in the same emotional loop. Love, get hurt, repeat. They think the problem is that they haven't met the right person. But the truth is much deeper than that. Today, I'm not here to tell you what you already know. I'm not here to repeat the familiar slogans like love yourself or be positive. I've come to give you a key, a truth that most of us were never taught, but once understood, will completely change the way you see yourself and every relationship in your life. You will not only understand why you feel so unloved, but you will also know exactly how to change it from within. Not by willpower, not by theory, but by a real transformation. A process that will lead you back to a forgotten part of yourself. If you are listening to these words, then part of you already knows. It's time to stop looking for love outside of yourself and start discovering what's waiting for you inside. This is not an ordinary motivational video. This is an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery. And if you are ready, it starts right here. We often think that relationships are about the other person, about whether they are good enough, loving enough, understanding enough. But the truth is, every relationship you have ever had is a mirror, not a mirror of your outward appearance, but a mirror of your inner world, what you have not seen, accepted, or healed within yourself. When someone makes you feel vulnerable, insecure, passionately in love, or unbearably disgusted, it is not simply a reaction to them. It is a reaction to the part of yourself you see in them. For example, if you are attracted to someone who seems confident, assertive, strong, ask yourself, is that a part of you that you are longing to express, but have been holding back because of fear, prejudice, or past experiences? On the other hand, if you are extremely annoyed with someone because they are too loud, too ambitious, too arrogant, are these parts of you that used to exist, but have been suppressed for fear of rejection, of judgment? Carl Jung, a Swiss psychoanalyst, called this phenomenon projected shadow. We project the part of ourselves that we do not accept onto the outside and then attach it to others. They become our emotional surrogates. And that is why some people can make you angry, hurt, or infatuated without you being able to explain it. Mirrors work in both directions, attraction and resistance. Both are equally valuable. When you are drawn to someone, they may be living for you the part of your life that you have suppressed. When you are repelled by someone, they may be the personification of the dark side that you have deliberately denied. And importantly, this is not a blame game. Every emotion you experience in a relationship doesn't necessarily say anything about the other person. It says something about you. And it's in turning to yourself, looking honestly at your reactions, that you begin to unravel the invisible knots that control how you love, how you choose who you love, how you leave or hold on. Think about the last person who made you react strongly. It could be an ex, a friend, or a stranger who just passed through your life. What strong emotions did they leave in you? Anger, attraction, hurt, admiration, jealousy. These are all clues. Each reaction is a map to the part of you that is disconnected. Here's a simple but powerful truth. You can't love fully if you don't dare look into the mirror that someone else holds up for you every day. Instead of asking, why is this person acting this way? Start asking, what is this person reflecting in me? Instead of focusing on the other person's actions, turn to your own feelings and trace them back. Where is this feeling coming from? How is it familiar? When have I felt this way in my life? The answers will take you to the root, where the pieces of you have been hurt, abandoned, or rejected. And only when you identify and integrate these parts can you step out of the relationship loop, where you are always drawn to the same different type of person. The mirror is not a theory, it is a tool, and if you use it correctly, it will become the most powerful key to understanding yourself, healing, and radically changing the quality of relationships in your life. Because in the end, the real person you need to learn to love first is the version of you inside that you forgot is looking at you through someone else's eyes. Now that you understand that everyone in your life is a mirror of your inner self, the next step is to look at your relationships as an observer, without judgment, without blame, but simply look straight. Think about the last 3 relationships that hurt you, left you feeling unfulfilled, or left you feeling incomplete. It could be an ex, a one-sided love, or even a close friend you've lost touch with. The first thing you need to do is to remove the old question, why are they like that? And replace it with a core question, what do they reflect in me? What types of people do you tend to be attracted to? Cold, strong, needing to be saved. People who make you feel not good enough. Recurrence is never random. Each type of person you attract plays a role in reflecting an unhealed wound. If you're always in relationships where you feel like you have to work to be loved, you probably still believe that love is something you have to give, something you have to deserve. If you're constantly around people who make you feel small or invisible, ask yourself, did you grow up in an environment where your feelings weren't acknowledged? These aren't just bad partner habits. They're emotional blueprints that were formed in childhood, early experiences that conditioned you to believe a certain way about love. For example, if you grew up in an environment where love came with conditions, you had to be good or obey to be accepted, then as an adult, you're more likely to find yourself in relationships where you feel like you have to do something, sacrifice something, or strut to be loved. Not because you want to, but because your emotional brain believes that's what love is. Your body knows it too. Pay attention to how your body reacts when you're around someone. You may feel excited when they come near, but deep down you're worried they'll leave. You may feel turned on by unpredictable people, but bored by people who are always kind, clear, and stable. Those reactions don't reflect love. They reflect familiarity. You're drawn to what's familiar, even if it's hurt you. This is why so many people leave a toxic relationship, but then unconsciously enter another one, only to change the other person's face. The situation repeats, the emotions repeat, the hurt repeats, and then they start to believe, I must not be destined for love. That's not true. You're not unlucky. You're just being controlled by unseen subconscious programs. It's not your job to blame yourself for making the wrong choice. Your job is to identify the unconscious patterns that are driving that choice. Because when you see it clearly, you begin to have the power to choose differently. And to do that, you need to go back to your emotions, not your mind. You need to observe, when did you feel anxious in your relationship? Did that feel familiar? When did you withdraw into yourself, not dare to speak the truth? Was it a survival strategy when you were a child? When did you try to please others? Was it a way for you to get your parents' attention? Everything that has not been processed in the past will find a way to repeat itself in the present. So through relationships, therefore relationships are not just a place to find happiness. They are the clearest mirror for you to heal your past. And only when you are willing to face your old patterns, to observe them honestly, without avoiding them, can you begin to create a new kind of love. One where you don't need to chase after others, don't need to overwork yourself, don't need to be chosen to feel worthy. Then you no longer love because you lack. You love because you are enough. And that, your inner enoughness, will stop you from repeating the same old relationships. You will begin to attract people who reflect your new self, someone who understands you, accepts you, and is no longer living in the old patterns of the past. Because only when you change from within will the outside world reflect that. By now, you've begun to see the hidden patterns in your relationships. But if you stop at observing, understanding and recognizing, change will only be at the level of awareness. For real transformation, you need to take the next step, and that is integrating your shadow self. The concept of shadow, or shadow as Carl Jung called it, is not the evil thing that many people mistakenly believe. It is simply all the parts of you that you have denied, been ashamed of, labeled as should not be, not allowed to exist. It could be the anger you've always suppressed to maintain a good image, the ambition you've buried for fear of being perceived as arrogant, the vulnerability you hide for fear of being taken advantage of, or even the creativity, confidence, charisma, positive qualities that you've suppressed because you believed they would cause you to be rejected. When you deny these parts, you don't make them go away, you just push them into your subconscious. And then they come back in other forms, strong reactions to others, deadlocked relationships, unexplained conflicts. You can't pretend that you don't have a part of yourself. You have a choice to live with your shadow like a blind person, or to turn on the lights, step into the forgotten room, and embrace it with the light of your consciousness. Integrating your shadow is a courageous journey. It requires you to look directly at the things you don't like about yourself, without judgment, without blame, without avoidance. You will have to accept that sometimes you are selfish, sometimes you need attention, sometimes you are jealous, and sometimes you are capable of hurting others. But you know what? That's normal. No one is all light. Everyone has a shadow. The difference is that emotionally mature people recognize their shadow, work with it, and use it as part of their life energy. Integrating your shadow is not about being perfect. It's about being whole. And when you're whole, you no longer need to play a role. You no longer need to pretend to be the nice person, the right person. You start to be real, in all your glory, and that sets you free. So how do you begin this process of integration? Step 1. Observe your strong emotional reactions. Every time someone upsets you, ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Is there a part of me that I'm like that person that I don't want to acknowledge? Step 2. Write a letter to your shadow self. Not as a ritual, but as a heartfelt conversation. You might write, I know I rejected you. I was ashamed of my anger, my weakness, my need for validation. But now, I don't want to reject you anymore. I want to understand you. I want to know what you're trying to protect. This is when you begin to listen to the inner voices you've been silencing. Step 3. Create a safe space to express the parts of yourself that you've been suppressing. If you've been suppressing your creativity, try drawing, writing, dancing, writing poetry. If you've been holding back anger, find a place where you can speak your truth in a limited, responsible way, instead of letting it build up and explode in the wrong place. Step 4. Be kind to yourself as you learn. You will make mistakes. You will react in old patterns. But each time you acknowledge them in time, you are one step closer to integration. And as you begin to embrace your shadow, something magical happens. The people who once made you react violently no longer have that power. They are still them, but you are no longer dragged into the emotional vortex. You no longer need to prove yourself, or fight, or run away. You are simply enough, standing firm, and no longer afraid of your dark self. And then the relationships around you change. You no longer attract people who reflect the parts of yourself you reject. Instead, you attract people who reflect the integrated version of you. Light enough, dark enough, real enough. You no longer love to be healed. You love from healing. You no longer ask others to make you feel loved. You love because you are love. That is the real goal of the shadow integration process. Not to eliminate anything, but to become one again, whole, strong, true, and ready to love, without losing yourself. We grow up with a belief planted very early that somewhere out there is someone born for us, that if we are lucky enough, good enough, worthy enough, we will find the other half, someone who will see us, love us, heal all our wounds, and make us feel whole. We do not realize that this belief, no matter how romantic, is unintentionally pushing us into an endless pursuit. A journey where we are always waiting to be loved, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be chosen. And when love does not come, or comes but then leaves, we not only hurt because of the loss, but hurt more deeply because of the feeling, I must not be good enough. The truth is this: love is not a reward for those who deserve it. It is not a destination. It is not something that someone can give to you to make you feel complete. Love is the natural result of coming back to yourself, whole, honest, and no longer denying any part of yourself. Look back. Every time you loved someone from a place of lack, how did you love? You held on, you controlled, you over-sacrificed. You lost yourself just to hold on to a relationship. And worse, you made your happiness completely dependent on the moods, reactions, and actions of the other person. But love from a place of lack is not love. It is attachment. It is codependency. It is two people trying to fill each other's holes with an energy that is never enough. On the other hand, when you start building a relationship from a place of fullness, where you have integrated your shadow, made peace with your hurt, learned to stand alone without fear, you no longer look to love to be saved. You enter a relationship to share, not to fill. You don't need someone else to make you feel valuable. You already know what your value is. You don't need someone to stay to make you feel safe. You've found safety within yourself. And if someone doesn't stay, you hurt, but you don't collapse. Because you know, loss doesn't take away who you are. Love then becomes an open space, where two people come together, not because they are afraid of being alone, but because they freely choose to be together, every day, without imposition, without coercion, without demanding perfection. This is the deepest transformation from finding someone to love you, to becoming a person who knows how to love yourself and others with awareness. Love then is no longer a goal that you need to achieve. It becomes a living stream, flowing through you, created by you every day, through the way you care for yourself, through the way you talk to yourself, through the way you react when someone hurts you. Love doesn't come from someone else. It starts with how you treat yourself when no one else is around. And the beautiful thing is, when you love yourself that way, the world outside of you begins to change. You attract other relationships. You stop being drawn to drama and chaos because you are at peace inside. You stop finding nice people boring because you are no longer addicted to insecurity. When you don't need love to survive, you are capable of a love deeper than anything you have ever known. That love is not dependent, that love is not clingy, that love is not suffocating, that love is open, that love is listening, that love is free, that love is truly mature, that love doesn't need to be held, but stays. No need to control, but still loyal. No need to promise, but still steadfast. And you can only get there when you dare to let go of the fairy tale dream of someone coming to save you. You don't need anyone to save you. You just need to stop abandoning yourself. And when you come back, embrace the light and the dark, face the patterns, heal the wounds, and live as a person who has come home. Then love is no longer something you pursue. It is something you create. Not to achieve, not to keep, but to live with every day. Love is no longer a distant dream. It is the natural state of a person who has accepted who he or she is, no more, no less. And you, from that moment on, become a source of love, not just for yourself, but for all you touch. Have you ever wondered why, no matter how hard you try to change, you keep falling into the same types of relationships? Just different names, different faces, but the feelings are the same. Hurt, disappointment, abandonment, disorientation. No matter how many lessons you learn, no matter how aware you are, there is still an invisible force pulling you back to the same old loops. It's not because you're unlucky. It's not because you chose the wrong person. It's because you're being controlled by subconscious patterns, emotional programs that were formed very early, even before you had a clear idea of a child who is not seen, not listened to, not comforted when hurt, will grow up believing that he or she is not worthy of unconditional love, and that belief will follow him or her for life, like a shadow, lurking behind every emotional choice. These patterns don't come from the will, they come from the senses, from the nerves, from the networks of connections in the brain that are repeated over and over again. And the sad thing is, the familiar will always seem safe, even when it hurts. A person who has lived in a conflict-filled environment will find peaceful love, emotionless. A person who has been abandoned will be attracted to cold people, because the feeling of being abandoned is so familiar that it feels like home. You don't love the wrong person. You love what is familiar. And that familiarity is often an unhealed wound. So how do you break out of this loop? The first step is to recognize the pattern. Look back at your emotional history. Write down the commonalities between relationships. What emotions do you often repeat? What roles do you usually play in the relationship? The savior, the wounded, the controller, the background. How did the relationship end? Were you the one who left or was left? From there, you will begin to see a thread running through you. It is not random. It is a clear sign that there is a part of you that is seeking release from the old wound, but unconsciously replaying it in the hope of a different ending. The second step is to observe the sensations in your body. When you meet someone who knocks you out immediately, don't call it love. Ask your body how it is responding. Do you feel relief or anxiety? Is there a fear of abandonment from the start? Do you feel like you are not enough to keep this person? Intense emotional outbursts at the beginning are usually not a sign of true love. They are a sign of neurological activation, an activation of old wounds. True love usually comes with a calm, peaceful, gradual approach, not a whirlwind of confusion. The third step is to learn to choose differently, even if it is uncomfortable at first. If you're used to being ignored, a nice person will make you suspicious. If you're used to conditional relationships, a person who loves you unconditionally will make you insecure. That's when your brain resists the new thing, because it hasn't defined it as safe. You need to get past that stage. You need to learn to stay with the healthy thing, even if it makes you feel empty, bored, or unattractive, because that's a sign that you're breaking out of your old pattern. The fourth step is to set clear boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself. If you know you tend to get drawn into people who are cold, controlling, or manipulative and full of drama, have a list of red flags. Make a commitment to yourself. If these signs appear, I will stop. Not for the thrill of continuing, not because this time might be different. Boundaries are an act of self-respect. It's a declaration that says, I no longer let my wounds dictate the love I choose. The final step is to cultivate a connection with yourself. When you connect with yourself, through writing, meditation, movement, creativity, you become less likely to get caught up in addictive relationships. You become filled by yourself. And from there, you no longer love to be filled. You have the power to create a new kind of love, but it won't come from waiting for someone to show up. It will come from being brave enough to break the old pattern. And yes, it will be uncomfortable at first, because you are moving away from what your body is used to calling love. But when you go far enough, overcome enough inner challenges, you will reach a place where love is no longer a game of repeating hurt. It becomes a free, conscious, healthy experience, where you don't have to prove anything, don't have to chase after anyone, don't have to suffer to be loved. Just be yourself, and the right love will stay, not because you need it, but because you deserve it. After all you've been through, from identifying your relationship reflections, to facing your shadow side, to breaking old subconscious patterns, what you're probably starting to realize is this: love isn't something you need to find. Love is something you need to become. For most of your life you've been taught that love is a reward, something that's given to you if you're good enough, pretty enough, trying hard enough. That leaves you in a constant state of waiting for someone to see you, waiting for someone to validate you, waiting for someone to make you feel worthy. But no one can give you what you haven't given yourself. Others can love you, but they can't make you feel loved if you're still rejecting yourself. You can be in a relationship but still feel lonely. You can be pursued, admired, complimented, but deep down, you still feel lacking, because no one else can fill the void you leave your relationship with yourself. True love begins there, from the relationship you have with yourself in the moments no one else sees. When you fail, how do you talk to yourself? When you are lonely, how do you treat yourself? When you feel hurt, how do you react? Avoiding, criticizing yourself, or embracing it with kindness? How you love, be patient with, and accept yourself in those moments will shape the quality of all your relationships later on. A person who loves himself is not someone who feels positive all the time. He is someone who does not abandon himself even when negativity arises. He is someone who dares to stay with the sadness, the anger, the shame, without trying to push them away to become better. And when you live like that, with absolute honesty with yourself, you no longer need to act. You don't have to please to be loved. You don't have to force yourself to be worthy. You are enough because you are authentic. That will attract real people to you. People who are not attracted by the mask, but by the sincerity. People who don't seek you out because of what you can do for them, but because they see themselves in your wholeness. It's a connection from the soul, not based on lack, but based on similarity. It's not that I lack, you lack, so we connect. It's I am enough, you are enough, and we move forward together, not dependent, not possessive, not controlling. And then you start to see every relationship in a different way. You no longer worry, when will that person come? You no longer worry, will they leave? Because you understand, everyone comes into your life for a reason. The one who hurts you comes to reflect. The one who shakes you comes to awaken what you have forgotten in yourself. The one who leaves you comes to teach you how to stay with yourself. No one comes at the wrong time, no one leaves without reason. And when you look at every relationship through that lens of maturity, you no longer carry bitterness or regret. You carry gratitude. Grateful that they helped you see yourself more clearly. Grateful that through them, you know the part of you that needed healing. And grateful that you have come this far on the journey back to yourself. And then in the most ordinary moment, no drama, no brilliance, you will find yourself no longer craving for love. Not because you have closed your heart, but because you have realized love has never been absent. It is always there, waiting for you to recognize it, waiting for you to become it. When you live from that place, where you are no longer searching, but becoming, you will see every look, every word, every action of yours carries the energy of love. You are no longer looking for love, because you are its embodiment. Love is no longer a relationship. It is a way of life. It is no longer something you achieve. It is something you spread. It is no longer something you need to keep. It is something you are willing to give, because you know you are never lacking. That is where the journey truly begins. Not from having someone hold your hand, but from the moment you dare to hold your own hand, without letting go, without judgment, without conditions. And if you have come to the end of this journey of this scenario, it means that a part of you has awakened. You are ready to step out of searching for love and start becoming love. From now on, every relationship you have will no longer be about filling, but about expanding together. No longer about healing each other, but about growing together, being free together, being true together. Because love is not where you go. Love is where you start, right here with you, right now.